Okay. Ustedes también, si quieren venir más cerca, está bien. Está muy lejos. Chris, you're not going, are you? Are you leaving? No te vayas. Okay. Okay, don't let him fall. He's falling into temptation. He's falling into the fire. Okay. Okay, do you want to give a presentation? I do. I want to tell you about where we are in history. Good. Okay, Paula. You want the microphone, Paula? The hand mic? Okay. Okay. Andrew, ¿estamos listos? Okay. Vamos a empezar ya. Y yo quiero presentar a ustedes es David Meyer, coordinador de construcción y real estate. What's real estate? What's real estate? Huh? Bienes raíces. That's a funny word. Bienes raíces, real estate. En la diócesis. Y él ha estado en esta posición por muchos años. Él nos conoce muy bien. So he knows us very well. And he's been in this job for a long time, since I've been here, since before I've been here, for many years. So David is going to talk, and he's going to give a little history of our project. Es más que 10 años la historia de este proyecto. Él va a platicar sobre esto. Y después va a hablar más sobre detalles de nuestra construcción. Y Paula García va a traducir por él. So you can talk in English, you can talk in Spanish, and we'll just continue. Y después, si hay preguntas, you're going to take questions, right? Si quieren tirar huevos, no. O papas, no. Pero si hay preguntas, está bien. So no throwing eggs or potatoes or anything else. Just be nice. Okay? You too. Okay. No piedras. Okay. Okay, so I'll give it to David Meyer. David, welcome. Bienvenidos.
Well, good afternoon. Again, my name is David Meyer. I'm the Director of Construction and Real Estate for the diocese. I've been in that position for about 11 years. But one of the first jobs when I came here was this with Father Al when he was stationed here. So been journeying with you guys prior to Father Al, and then since he's been here. So one of the things I want to say, I'm really glad that I'm here to be able to talk to you, because my staff and I do so much work behind the scenes with the city and with consultants and architects and engineers and public works, and nobody sees what that goes on. And so I'm going to give you a little bit of history of where the project, when it started, and how we got to this point, the money, and where we're going from here. So, okay.
Buenas tardes, soy David Meyer, soy el director de construcción en la diócesis por 11 años y he estado pues aquí trabajando con el Padre Al desde que llegó. Quiero que sepan que nuestro equipo trabaja detrás de escena muy duro con la ciudad, con todo el proyecto, y que pues no se ve. Y estoy aquí para quiero empezar dándoles una historia de todo cómo ha sido el proyecto aquí con Santa María.
So to get started with the project, when in 2012, the property became available next door, the 2 acres. And that kind of changed the direction of the whole project that we were working on, because originally the church was supposed to be built in the back here. And there was actually plans that were drawn up, but that was about it. But in 2012, when Father Al came, he wanted to purchase the property here, which was an awesome thing to do because it allowed to build a larger church and to facilitate the needs of the parish. So, okay.
En el 2012 cambió la dirección del proyecto, ya que este terreno que está aquí al lado estuvo disponible para comprarlo, y en el 2012, cuando llegó el Padre Al, quiso y decidieron comprarlo, y fue algo muy maravilloso, ya que de esta forma vamos a poder hacer un templo más grande.
So the process for purchasing the property, we had to meet with the city and then all of the different departments to make sure that we could use the property for what we wanted to, because the church has to get what they call a conditional use permit. So that's kind of a big word that has a lot of things that we, in my office, we do a lot to facilitate that.
En el proceso de compra, pues fue bastante mucho trabajo. Había que hacer todos los permisos, ver si la propiedad se podía usar para hacer el templo. Hay unos permisos que le llaman condición de propiedad, y bueno, se ha trabajado fuertemente en esto.
So once the property was purchased, then we started working with architects in your building committee in order to design a church on that property over there, including all the parking and all the utilities over the next year. So we could present that to the diocese, to Bishop, to approve what we call a master plan.
Una vez que se compró la propiedad, se empezó a trabajar con los arquitectos y el fondo del edificio de aquí para trabajar en los planos, en el parque, en el estacionamiento, y todo esto para poderle presentar el proyecto en el siguiente año al obispo.
And then at the end of 2013, we had the plan already. We presented it to the Diocesan Building Committee for recommendation to Bishop. It was approved. And then from that, the parish was able to start a capital campaign, which you're still in today. So from your capital campaign started in December of 2013, the beginning of 2014.
A finales del 2013 estuvimos listos con los planos, y junto con el fondo del edificio de aquí, el comité del fondo del edificio, presentamos el proyecto al obispo y fue aprobado. Entonces fue cuando aquí se inició la campaña para recaudar los fondos, que fue en diciembre del 2013 y enero del 2014 cuando se inició, que es la campaña que aún se está llevando a cabo.
And then you guys started your capital campaign, and then for the next 4 years until 2017, we hadn't really started any design because the parish needed the funds in order to proceed to submit plans to the city, because it doesn't do any good if we don't have enough money to present the plans, because we get permits and they're very time sensitive. So it was important then from December 2013 to about 2017, the parish was raising funds. We were working on plans, but we hadn't submitted anything to the city yet.
Entre el 2014 o diciembre del 2013 al 2017 estuvimos trabajando en los planos, pero aún no se sometió nada a la ciudad, puesto que aquí en la comunidad apenas se estaban recaudando fondos, y sin los fondos, sin tener el dinero, no se podía someter ningún plano a la ciudad.
And then a critical stage of the process started when in June of 2017, the architect and the engineers submitted the plans, or you did, submitted the plans to the city to get the conditional use permit. And so let me go a little bit into that. So there's 3 major permits we have to get to start the project, and one is a conditional use permit. That tells us that we can have a church on that property.
That was in
2017.
En el 2017 se presentó los planos y pidiendo el primer permiso, que esos permisos tienen 3 fases. El primer permiso se llama algo así como permiso de condición de uso, que es algo muy así fuerte para poder pedir, ¿no? Muy drástico.
And then in January of 2018, when we had the preliminary plans drawn for the conditional use permit, Goodman, who's building all these buildings around us, the major developer here, he actually offered to buy this property. And so we spent about 7 months working with Father, looking for a land swamp. We were going to try and take the whole frontage on Harupa and then trade them for the back parking lot back here. We actually had plans drawn up, but then they didn't want to accept the offer. So that took about 6 months to do. So there was a delay in there, but we were looking to try and do what the best for the parish was.
En enero del 2018 ya teníamos listo todo para sometido con el permiso, pero Goodman se llama la compañía que está construyendo todo esto aquí alrededor, nos dio una oferta para comprarnos terreno. Y entonces se tardó 6 meses trabajando con el padre y ellos y la compañía de Goodman, y nos resultó, querían hacer tipo como un intercambio, dar tierra acá hasta toda la jurupa hasta abajo y cambiar, ellos soltarles el estacionamiento de atrás. Entonces ahí hubo como 6, 7 meses que nos demoró.
And then in February of 2019, the official conditional use permit package is delivered to the city. And again, that's a lot of the studies, that's all of the architects, the engineers, working with traffic engineers and different requirements the city has. We delivered the full package in order to get our conditional use permit.
En febrero del 2019 se entregó el paquete completo para el permiso de condición de uso a la ciudad.
Then COVID happens.
Y
And the whole-
entonces sucedió COVID.
The whole world stops. So we continued to work from our end. The city did, but to be quite honest with you, it was quite difficult. Nobody was used to Zoom meetings. Nobody was used to working electronically back and forth. Usually when you're working with plans, you open plans up, you can sit down and work with them. But even through all that, we were still able to proceed through the city and work with the city to move forward.
Y entonces, aunque nosotros continuamos trabajando y la ciudad también, para ser bien honestos con ustedes, el mundo no estaba acostumbrado a las reuniones de Zoom. Entonces fue un tiempo muy difícil, era muy difícil abrir planos, someterlos, pero bueno, se continuó trabajando y aún así pudimos adelantar con la ciudad.
And then in April of 2020, which is almost 2 years to the date ago, the conditional use permit was approved.
En abril del 2020, el permiso de condición de uso fue aprobado.
The critical thing with any of these permits is that they all are time sensitive. So once we get the permit, we only have a certain amount of time to actually begin construction.
La cuestión crítica con estos permisos es que una vez que están aprobados, tienen un tiempo de vencimiento.
At the time that we received the conditional use permit, the project was projected around $6 million, the project was, and the parish was on their way to raising the 65 or 80% to be able to begin the project.
Cuando recibimos este permiso, la construcción estaba evaluada en cerca de $6 millones y la iglesia estaba muy cerca de tener su 65% recolectado.
And then for the next almost year, the architect and the civil engineer are working on the plans to submit what they call the precise grading plans and the architectural plans.
En el siguiente año, el arquitecto y el ingeniero estuvieron trabajando para someter los planos. Uno se llama algo así, no sé cómo traducirlo, Persuades, y the other one is
The grading plan and the architectural.
de la arquitectura y todo lo que es la base, los
Yeah.
cimientos.
Yeah, so in December of 2020, about a year and a half ago, both the architectural and the civil engineer plans were submitted for review in order to get the permits.
En diciembre del 2020 se sometieron los planos de ingeniería civil y los planos de arquitectura.
Then in July of 2021, inflation hit and costs went up by about 30%. We were building another project, same church down in Wildemar. They were affected by the same thing. Their project went from a $7 million project to a $9 million project in about 7 months.
Entonces, en julio del 2021 llegó la inflación y todo subió. Estamos trabajando en una iglesia, Belmar creo que se llama, igual que aquí el mismo proyecto, y de 7 millones subió a 9 millones.
And then the same thing happened here. This project went from about a $6 or a $6.5 million project to about an $8 million project.
Y así mismo sucedió aquí. Subió de 6 a 6.5 millones a 8.5 millones.
So one of the things that had happened was there was concern because the parish had raised about $5 million. Through the course of getting these permits and applying for these permits, the parish spent about $500,000, and that's to consultants, to the city, to different agencies in order to be able to acquire the permits.
En este tiempo, la parroquia ha reunido 5 millones y en todo este proceso se han gastado cerca de $500,000 entre los permisos, arquitectura, planos, todos los gastos que han habido son $500,000.
So what that means in numbers for the parish is that the parish, on an $8 million project, they had raised close to $5 million. We spent about $500,000. So that left a balance of about $3 million that the parish would have to come up with in order to complete the project when it was 100% complete.
Esto lo que indica con números para nosotros, para la parroquia, es que habiendo reunido 5 millones, habiendo gastado 500,000 para un proyecto de 8 millones, aún necesitamos recaudar otros 3 millones para poder terminar el proyecto.
And so how the diocese, our policy is that we normally operate is that the parish has to have between 65 and 85% of the funds in order to be able to actually start construction. And so what Bishop has allowed us to do is that to start the project with just doing the grading and some of the site work and some of the off-site work, use the funds that you have available now and allow the parish to continue to fundraise, that hopefully we can continue with the church as we go forward.
Entonces la póliza que tiene la diócesis es que debemos de tener entre el 65% y el 80% recaudado. Entonces el obispo, el señor obispo, lo que nos ha permitido hacer es iniciar como decía el obispo en la primera fase de la primera fase. Que es lo que le llaman el grading, que es algo así como los cimientos y todo el lado, la banqueta, es en lo que van a empezar a trabajar.
And the other, so because all of these permits are time sensitive, even with the applications, in December of last year, we got extensions on both the grading and the building permit. They're not approved yet, but these are the applications that we're still trying to get approval on, which are very close to being approved. We had to get extensions because they're very time sensitive.
Como los permisos tienen sus fechas de vencimiento y son muy sensibles con esas fechas, en diciembre del año pasado obtuvimos permisos para los dos, obtuvimos extensiones para los dos permisos que tenemos.
And then in January of this year, we applied for an extension of the conditional use permit because it was ready to expire in April. And then just 2 days ago, we were granted that extension for 2 years.
En enero de este año sometimos una extensión para el permiso de condición de uso y hace 2 días nos lo concedieron porque se vencía ahora en abril de este año.
And so one of the questions, not one of the questions, this is the main question I'm usually asked by Father. Usually he's up on Mount Baldy and he texts me something, or he's up on the hill back here taking pictures, sending them down to me. Why is Goodman and all these other people building their projects? Why are they able to do it and we're not?
Entonces la pregunta grandísima, ¿no? Que el padre Al siempre me hace, no importa dónde esté, está tomando fotos y fue a la montaña y me manda a decir, ¿cómo es posible que Goodman, todo esto alrededor, siempre ya están listos, ya trabajaron, ya lo terminaron y nosotros no?
Yeah, so I can tell you that the actual process for getting the grading and building permit has been about a 2-year process. That's been the last 2 years because we didn't have our conditional use permit where we could even apply for those until then.
Entonces, bueno, para iniciar, el permiso de condición de uso lleva un proceso de 2 años.
And so, and of course, we know what happened in those last 2 years. There's been COVID. Again, trying to navigate through the city was very, very difficult, but we tried. We hundreds of phone calls and hundreds of emails, and of course, Father was on most of them, not all, was copied on those or let know what's going on all of those. I can't tell you why they started their projects before us. All I can tell you is that we have done everything in our power to move the project forward. We've responded to every inquiry, which are numerous inquiries from the city, from the state as well, and from the county for water quality. The project, because it requires a conditional use permit, actually makes it more complicated than what their projects are because they don't have to get a conditional use permit.
Ha sido muy difícil estos 2 años poder navegar con la ciudad, pero bueno, lo hemos logrado y aquí estamos. No les puedo responder por qué ellos han podido adelantar y avanzar en sus proyectos y edificar, pero pues lo que sí sé es que aquí estamos, hemos respondido todos los requerimientos de la ciudad, del estado, y bueno, lo que sí sé es que ellos no necesitan tanto requerimiento para el permiso que nosotros requerimos acá para el uso de condición.
Yeah, and the city has worked with us. It hasn't like they have stalled on their end, so I don't know that they pay tens of millions of dollars in property taxes and sales taxes or what the reason, but from our end, we have worked very diligently with the city. We've submitted the stuff they've required, and it's not just you submit, there is a lot of back and forth with different engineers and things that we have to resolve, and some of those take time, but all of those things have been done very diligently.
Okay. La ciudad hemos estado trabajando, vamos y venimos, no es simplemente que sometemos y ya. Han regresado, han habido muchos cambios por hacer y todo se ha hecho muy diligentemente. No les puedo decir si con estas personas ha sido diferente porque tal vez ellos pagan una muy buena cantidad en impuestos, pero bueno, la ciudad igual ha trabajado con nosotros.
And I'll tell you, for parishes, because I've been doing this for over 40 years, building churches for the Catholic Church, for the diocese, 2 years is not a long time to get the permits. I know for all of you, it seems like, why is this happening? And then it really makes it magnify when you have everybody building around us. That's the problem. It says, well, why can they do that? And again, I can't answer that. All I can tell you is what we do and our expertise in order to move the property forward. But really the 2 years, and we're almost ready to get our permits now, which is very exciting. That really isn't out of line for what it usually takes us to get a permit. In fact,
ya, quiero decirles que yo he visto en muchas iglesias, llevo 40 años trabajando con la diócesis en las construcciones de las iglesias y los 2 años de proceso para este permiso de condición de uso no es realmente mucho. Entiendo que para ustedes es mucho porque están esperando, pero realmente no ha sido. Y estamos a punto de recibir nuestro permiso.
And in fact, from April of 2020, 2 years ago, to the time that we're going to start now is actually quite fast for most of the projects that go through the different municipalities and the different cities that we work with in the whole diocese.
Realmente de abril del 2020 a ahora ha sido un proceso bastante rápido para lo que nosotros vemos y estamos acostumbrados a trabajar en la diócesis.
So that's kind of it on the timing frame. And then the other thing I want to assure you, because this is another question I get a lot, is, well, where's all of our money that we have donated? I mean, $5 million is unbelievable amount of money that you guys have been able to raise. I mean, that's tremendous amount of money. And all of that money's at the diocese. Again, you've spent about $500,000 of it getting to this point right now, but the other $4.5 million is there. You collect interest on that money. It's in a restricted fund that can only be used for your project. It only will be used for your project. And that's it is with all of our projects in the diocese when people donate the money, and it's all accounted for. The money is all there.
Esa es mi respuesta acerca de, y mi explicación acerca del tiempo. Otra cosa que les quiero hablar y explicar es acerca del dinero. El dinero que ustedes han recaudado son 5 millones, eso es muchísimo dinero. Y muchos de ustedes se preguntarán, ¿dónde está? Bueno, el dinero está en la diócesis, está en una cuenta asegurada, restringida, que solamente puede ser usada para el proyecto. Y así son todos el dinero que llega a la diócesis para los proyectos de la parroquia. Están asegurados. Y también gana algo de interés, así que los 4,5 millones que tienen ustedes aquí están en una cuenta de la diócesis, en un fondo restringido, es la palabra si la traducimos así, ¿verdad? En un fondo asegurado que no la pueden tocar, solo para el proyecto.
And then on the timing of when we would start this first phase, and the first phase again is going to be the off-site street improvements, and then the grading in the parking lot for where the new project's going to be.
Y lo que vamos a iniciar, nuevamente les explico, es la banqueta, todo el lado, todo lo que hay que hacer para actualizar, digámoslo así, y todo el cimiento y el estacionamiento.
We will not be able to begin the next phase, which is a separate permit. The grading permit is the first phase, that's in the off-site permit. The next phase is the building permit. We cannot start that until the grading's done. So that's going to be kind of the stop-start point when we get to that point where we are with funds to be able to continue the project.
Y no podemos iniciar la siguiente fase, que es empezar con el edificio, hasta que terminemos con toda esta primera fase del cimiento, el estacionamiento, y entonces va a ser como nuestro punto de parar y iniciar, ver cómo vamos a seguir, porque la siguiente fase no se puede iniciar hasta que no tengamos todos los fondos.
And then as far as starting the first phase, we're real close to get the grading permit. There's just a couple of items that the city is still requiring from us, and we've responded to those. We have those back into the city, and we're waiting to hear back from them whether they approve those or not, or whether they have more corrections.
Con el permiso para poder iniciar esta primera fase, estamos muy cerca. Simplemente nos pidieron dos puntos y ya los sometimos a la ciudad, ya solo estamos esperando ver si nos lo van a aprobar o si van a pedir más correcciones.
And so it's critical that we do start the project, at least with the grading, because what that does is it memorializes the conditional use permit, which the conditional use permit is just not the church. It's doing the outside of this, it's building the classrooms in the back, and then it's rebuilding the offices as well. Those are 4 phases of the conditional use permit.
Es muy crítico que iniciemos esta primera fase, ya que este permiso de condición de uso no es simple y solamente para ahí, para donde vamos a edificar, para el lote, sino que también es toda la parte de afuera, los salones y la casa cural, ¿no? La oficina.
Okay. So I'm hoping because again we're interacting with the city, I'm hoping in about 3 or 4 months to actually start construction. Now, I'm going to advise you that might be 6 months, but that's what my hope is right now. So that's what we're working very diligently to, working with the city. We have to work with Edison, with a lot of other companies for the streets and the power and those kind of things, but that's what my hope is. If it doesn't start at that time, it's not because we haven't done everything we could and we're interacting with the city. And I'll, as always, keep Father Al as updated as I can, and he can let you know where we are with the process.
Nosotros estamos interactuando con la ciudad, con la Edison, puesto que también hay que trabajar con los cables eléctricos, y mi esperanza es de que iniciemos entre 3 a 4 meses. Se podría llegar a tardar hasta 6 meses. Les quiero decir que por favor no piensen que es porque no estamos haciéndolo, estamos trabajando muy diligentemente con la ciudad y haciendo todo lo de nuestra parte. Y por mi parte yo mantengo informado al padre Al de lo que hablamos con la ciudad.
And then with that, I hope I've answered most of the questions you're going to ask, but I'll be more than happy to ask any questions. I don't know, Father Al, is there anything you want to say before we open up for questions? Or?
El padre está preguntando que una vez que iniciemos con toda esta primera fase, ¿cuánto más dinero vamos a necesitar para poder continuar con nuestro edificio, con la siguiente fase?
I don't know the answer to that yet. I have an idea, but I don't want to, I don't know because I don't want to give the wrong information. And the chief financial officer is not here, so I don't want to. But as of right now, and again, we're trying to get this project going because costs are still increasing. I mean, they're still going up. And we don't see any end in sight right now. So I'm really anxious about getting costs and getting started on this, getting costs locked down to what we have, the money I'm working with now. So.
No sé la respuesta exacta a esa pregunta. Tengo una idea, pero no quiero decirles, puesto que empezando que el director de finanzas no está presente. Pero lo que sí sé es que el costo de la inflación sigue subiendo y estoy muy ansioso por iniciar el proyecto y poder pedir un estimado y poderlo asegurar para que ya no suba más.
Yeah, so I will give, as soon as I know exactly what our costs are going to be on the grading, then that I can project forward what we actually are going to have for the actual building. And then I can let you know, Father, and because you need to know that. I mean, you need to know how much money you have to raise, right? We want to go from $6 to $8 million again, but and I understand that. So I want to give an honest answer, but I want to give an educated answer of where we are for cost, because again, everything continues just to go up. I mean, not a little bit, substantially. We notice that on all of our projects.
Tan pronto como yo tenga el estimado del proyecto de los cimientos, podré proyectar para saber el estimado de la iglesia, así que en cuanto lo tenga se lo dejo saber al Padre para que Él se los pueda dejar saber a ustedes, puesto que entiendo que todos ustedes necesitan saber cuánto más dinero es el que necesitamos.
Yeah, and again, the good thing, and this is the graciousness of Bishop, is that without him allowing us to move forward like we are, to be able just to do the first phase, the grading, without continuing the whole project, it helps us lock the prices in, at least for that part of it, but it also gives you hope to know that this thing's actually going to happen, that we're going to actually build the church.
Y con el obispo de nuestra parte dándonos el permiso para iniciar solamente la primera fase, y de esa manera podemos asegurar el costo de esta fase y nos deja ver cuánto más dinero necesitamos y tener esa esperanza de que sí podemos y tener ese ánimo para continuar.
So I can give Father, though, my projected cost of the overall project is $8 million. And again, I'm hoping it's not more than that. That's my best guess right now with the projects we have going, with the cost that we have going. The parish has raised $5 million, so there's about a $3 million difference. You do not have to raise all that to keep going because you can get a loan. I just don't know what that percentage is because, quite frankly, we have a new CFO. A big part of taking out a loan from the diocese, which they will do for you, is that you have to be able to service the debt.
Dice él que su mejor estimado es 8 millones, ¿sí? Que él igual no puede estar completamente seguro, que la cuestión está en esta. Necesitaríamos otros 3 millones más en este momento si fuesen los 8 millones, que no los tenemos que recaudar todos, que lo que sucede es que ellos tienen un nuevo director de finanzas, entonces no está así como bien seguro exacto cuánto nos van a poder prestar, porque sí podemos hacer un préstamo a la diócesis. Que la cuestión está con la diócesis es que su póliza es que nosotros debemos de tener y mostrar que sí vamos a poder pagar ese préstamo.
Yeah, so the parish has to be able to pay the rate, pay back the loan from the diocese, whatever that term is, but not affect your actual ministries. You still have to have your ministries, and you still have to use the money for those things, because that's quite frankly why we're here. And so, and that's why we're building a church, so we can enhance those ministries. But we have to take all that into consideration when we say about how much does a parish need, because again, it depends on how much money the parish brings in for the weekly just offerings to be able to work with the church, and then plus the whatever the over is, would go to pay that debt that the parish would incur. First phase, we're not looking at taking out a loan. We have enough to do the first phase, and so that's a good thing.
Tenemos suficiente para empezar la primera fase, así que eso es lo bueno, porque tenemos suficiente dinero y no tenemos que preocuparnos de un préstamo. Pero para la siguiente, con el préstamo, pues la diócesis se va a fijar mucho para darnos el préstamo, cómo podemos pagarlo, todos los gastos que tiene la iglesia, si con el dinero que en este momento entra vamos a poder cumplir con ese pago y ese término que nos den para ese préstamo.
Does that answer your question, Father? Okay, okay. $3 million. Yeah, I mean, and again, we want to raise $3 million so that we don't have a debt. I mean, that's the goal, right? I mean, that's the goal. And I know the goalpost has been moved. I mean, I'm a parishioner. My parish is Our Lady of Perpetual Help in Riverside. My wife's a principal there. All we do is fundraise. All we do is fundraise for the school and the parish, and every parish work, and so I get all that. And it's just, it breaks my heart to even have to let you know that there was that increase, but we're doing everything we can from the diocesan level, working with Father in the parish to try and get this thing to move forward. And again, because of the generosity of Bishop Rojas, allowing the parish, which is completely out of our policy, to move forward with this first phase, I think is pretty awesome.
Él quiere dejarles saber que él sabe que nuestra meta es recaudar todo el dinero, por ejemplo, si en ese momento fuesen 8, los otros 3 millones para no quedar con deuda, que él y su esposa trabajan en la escuela donde viven y pues siempre están recaudando dinero y recaudando dinero, y que pues se le quiebra mucho el corazón tenernos que dejar saber que esa meta ha crecido porque se necesita más dinero, que ha sido una parte muy generosa del corazón del obispo al dejarlos, al aprobarnos para que podamos iniciar con esta primera fase, puesto que eso no es una póliza que la diócesis haga. Iniciar iniciar sin tener todo y poder parar. Así que ha sido una generosidad del señor obispo.
All right, is there anybody else who would like to ask a question? Or?
Él pregunta si hay alguien que tiene alguna pregunta.
Oh, you want?
The lady?
Oh.
How much interest have we earned on our $5 million?
I don't know the answer to that, but the diocese actually pays better than what you're getting in the bank right now. I think it's almost 3% right now the diocese is paying.
Get back to me.
Okay, I will. Yeah, I think it's almost that, because I think it's 1% over LIBOR is what they pay.
Ella pregunta cuánto interés ha ganado nuestros 5 millones. Él contesta que no sabe, pero que la diócesis paga mucho mejor que el banco, que es 3%.
We were talking here if can we build a church and then do the parking lot at the end?
No.
No,
No.
because it's costing a lot of money, just the parking lot and the grading of the church.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then that's gonna stop, and then until we raise the other $3 million to build the church.
Not the complete $3 million, but a substantial portion so that you'd be able to afford a loan to finish the rest of the church.
We just feel like it's a lot of money just for parking lot and grading.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot in there, and there's quite a bit. Do you need to translate that to Spanish, or does that?
No,
Okay.
yo lo puedo decir. Yo le estoy preguntando a él que por qué no empezamos el edificio, el templo, y luego hacemos el parking lot, ¿verdad? El estacionamiento, porque se me hace como mucho dinero. Dice que no se van a gastar los 4.5 millones que tenemos, porque es lo que nos queda, ¿no? Después de pagar tanto por planos. Pero ahora dice que no se puede, so we cannot do it. Yeah, I know, we have to do los cimientos primero, the blueprints. Okay, so that was my question.
Okay, I can expand on that. So it's not as simple as just the parking lot. What that includes is the off-site work. It includes the fire lines, it's storm drain. We have a huge underground storage tanks that we have to put out here on the site to collect all the water. When it rains, I'm gonna kind of ramble on, then you can edit it down. When it rains, by the state, we have to capture all the water on our site, and it has to be infiltrated back into the soil. So that is a huge expense that the parish has to incur in order to accommodate that. If we had a big hole somewhere where we could dump the water in, it'd be great, but we don't have any property to do that. So we have to, that's part, and then there's fire hydrants and things like that as well.
Bueno, la pregunta de ella, la respuesta que él da es no se puede, porque primero que todo es la primera fase y es lo que se necesita primero. Cuesta, sí cuesta, porque hay mucho trabajo por hacer, no es simplemente el estacionamiento. Habla él de unos tanques de agua que tienen que poner, hay que hacer lo de los cables, la calle, los cables eléctricos, eso hay que ponerlo por dentro, y bueno, mucho trabajo que hay que hacer primero. ¿Alguien más tiene preguntas?
Bueno, pues estamos escuchando que se puede hacer en fases y eso lo tenemos desde hace mucho diciendo que por qué no se comienza aunque sea con la primera fase. O sea, el chiste es de que la gente y especialmente nosotros los mexicanos nos gusta ver para poder seguir dando. Y yo no sé, nosotros así somos, pero sí nos gustaría saber desde cuándo ya se hubiese haber podido comenzar con la primera fase. Porque si dicen que ya hasta los permisos se vencieron, puedo pensar que nos hubiésemos ahorrado muchísimo dinero si hubiésemos comenzado, aunque sea con la primera fase, que en aquel tiempo puedo pensar que hubiese costado mucho menos de lo que está costando ahorita.
He wants to know that, he said that we always been saying that why we cannot start the first phase, and as far as he understands, the permit is being, we even need to request, an extension for the permit. So why we haven't started the first phase a long time ago?
Because the permits have not been approved yet.
Los permisos no han sido aprobados
grading permit.
completamente.
We extended so there's a couple of things here, and I knew that, I'm sorry, I wish I had a PowerPoint to show you because it would be so much easier
Me
to
hubiese
explain.
gustado tener un PowerPoint para mostrar que habría sido mucho más fácil.
Okay, there's 3 permits that we have to have on the project. One is the conditional use permit. That gives us permission to use the property.
Ok, son 3 permisos que tenemos que tener en la propiedad para poder construir. El primero es el de permiso de condición de uso para poder construir en la propiedad.
Okay, we have that permit.
Ese lo tenemos.
Yeah, that was approved. That was approved. Because we hadn't started construction within 2 years, we just had to get an extension on that.
Como no hemos empezado construcción en 2 años, tuvimos que pedir una extensión en ese.
There's 2 more permits. One is the grading permit, which we're trying to get now, and the other one's the building permit.
Okay. El otro permiso es el de los cimientos y el otro el del edificio.
What we just got extension also on, even your application has a time frame. So if the permit isn't approved by the time, that like 6 months or a year, you have to get an extension on that as well.
Okay. La aplicación también tiene una fecha de vencimiento, así que esa también necesita pedirle sometimiento.
Which we just did as well. But we're
A
real,
lo que acabamos de hacer.
yeah, and we're real close to getting that permit. But I'm just telling you that because we've been very diligent about not letting any of these expire. Because if they expire, we lose the 500,000, we lose everything. And so that's what's been worrying me. I think, well, we gotta keep going. And so that's what we've been doing.
Hemos estado muy pendientes de estos permisos porque si se nos llegan a vencer, pues prácticamente se puede decir que vamos a perder todos los 500,000 que ya se han invertido en todo esto.
That was a great question. Thank you.
Así que, y yo solo quiero añadir algo a lo que él decía. La diócesis no trabaja por fases. El obispo, yo estuve en esa reunión y el obispo fue el que dijo que por favor iniciaran de esa manera.
Pues yo quería hacer una pregunta, que ¿por qué entonces la diócesis también no ayuda apoyando con dinero para la iglesia?
She wants to know why the diocese doesn't also help with money for the church.
Actually, the diocese helps quite a bit. Bishop pays for my services, which the parish doesn't pay for, and I've been working on this project for over 9 years. So I mean, that's just one of the things that he does. My entire staff works on this project. The diocese helps with accounting. The diocese gives interest rate above the interest rate that you can get in a bank right now. So there's a lot of things like that the diocese helps with, and the diocese has your heart. I mean, we want the church to be built, so we have a vested interest in getting the church built. So the diocese helps out quite a bit. They just in ways that you don't see. And then plus the diocese will at some point loan you the remainder of the funds to build the project to move forward.
La diócesis ayuda, la diócesis paga por mi sueldo y todo mi equipo de trabajo que trabajamos en esto también lo paga. La diócesis ayuda con la ciudad, en muchas partes que tal vez ustedes no ven. La diócesis también ayuda dando el interés mucho mejor que el del banco y están dispuestos para hacer el préstamo, así que aunque no se note y sea poco, pero la diócesis sí ayuda. ¿Alguien más?
Buenas tardes. ¿No corremos el riesgo de que después de que empecemos la primera fase, los otros permisos se venzan y ya no podamos seguir con la construcción?
Do we have any risk that after we start the first phase, the other permits expire and then we cannot start with the construction?
We'll get extensions on those as we go forward. Well, that's what we'll be very diligent about, making sure that would be the building permit, and so we'll continue to try and get that extended as long as we can, and it'll be, unless we can start that phase of the project.
Ese será el permiso de construcción del edificio y seremos muy diligentes con eso, pidiendo extensiones para que no se nos venza.
And just let me elaborate on that a little bit more too. So the grading permit is one phase, and then the next is building. We have to complete the building phase or the grading phase before we can start the grading phase. And that's really the only break we have. That's the go, no go point, because we can't start the building and then not finish it.
Okay. Para los cimientos necesitamos ese permiso, ¿verdad? Una vez que lo terminamos hay que someter el permiso para el edificio, para la construcción del edificio. No se puede someter el permiso para la construcción del edificio hasta que no esté todo el cimiento hecho. Entonces, ese es nuestro único descanso que tenemos y nuestro punto de ¿vamos o no vamos? Es ese. Quiero que es importante, él quiere que lo sepamos. Porque una vez que se inicia la construcción del templo, no se puede parar. Por eso se necesita tener todo el fondo, todo el dinero.
I think this.
Pues primero que nada, gracias al obispo que nos dio la oportunidad de empezar, muchas gracias a él. Y mi pregunta sería, con la experiencia que él tiene, que usted tiene, ¿qué podemos hacer para empezar ya como de todo el proceso? O sea, ¿es recomendable hacer un loan? ¿O qué es lo que, con tanta experiencia en otras iglesias que yo he mirado que se construyen en 4 años, San Carlos Borromeo, una de ellas, qué experiencia tiene él? ¿Qué nos puede aconsejar para que podamos hacer todo más rápido?
She said thank you to the bishop to let us start, and she wants to ask you, based on your experience, what can you tell us, give us an advice, how we can do it? Because she said that some church, she saw that they do it in 4 years, like St. Charles Borromeo. So she wanted to see if you have any advice for us that we can, what can we do just to start and not stopping?
Well, the best thing to raise funds is direct appeal to the parish. I mean, there's really no gimmicks about it, and I'll tell you that with over 40 years of doing churches, the best appeal is when Father Al asks the parish to give, and the parish does that. Everybody gives a certain amount. I know you've all been giving now, but really, honestly, that's how churches get built. It's from the parishioners here. Sometimes we get outside sources, very rarely. St. Charles Borromeo, much smaller project than yours. The total project's only about $2 million back in 2012. It's kind of crazy, huh? That whole project with the parking lot was about $2 million, and that's a 900-seat church, and it's a 1,200-seat church, and look at the difference in cost just in that amount of time. It's crazy. But that's the world we live in. But the money really has to come from the parish, and it's a direct appeal, and that's just the reality. And I see it, miracles happen over and over again where these churches get built. And then it's amazing once they get built how quick they pay off that debt. St. Charles, they labored for 22 years to build the church. They raised $1.2 million. We started on the project, and within 2 years they paid the $800,000 off. So I mean, it's a miracle what it happens.
Bueno, dice él que la forma de recaudar dinero es definitivamente con nosotros, con todos los fieles, que así como el Padre lo hace aquí, nos piden y damos, que todos demos una cantidad, que nos comprometamos, que demos, ¿verdad? Dice él que pues él ha trabajado por 40 años en esto, él ha visto muchos, pero muchos milagros. Entonces, refiriéndose a San Carlos Borromeo, dice que por 20 años trabajaron y en el 2012 su proyecto solo costó 2 millones, que es increíble y así una locura ver cómo esto ha subido en 10 años. Que ellos tenían 1.200.000 y fue muy rápido como trabajaron y los 800,000 que quedaron debiendo a la diócesis lo pagaron rapidísimo trabajando. Así que bueno, dice él que ha visto muchos, pero muchos milagros. Así que aquí, primero Dios verá otro. You will see another one, another miracle here.
Me too. I've been working hard on this too, so I want to.
I have two questions. First one, is there any fees whenever you guys extend the permits?
Yes, there are. Yes.
How much is the fee?
I think we just paid, it was $2,000 for the grading, and it was $4,000 for the conditional use permit.
And what about if we get the loan, what will be the interest that we pay on it?
I'm not the chief financial officer, so I can't answer that, but I think it's close to the interest that you're being paid now. So it's
Okay.
usually like 1 or 2% over LIBOR. So.
Thank you.
Ella preguntó que cuando se pide la extensión de los permisos, ¿cuánto se paga? Por el condición de uso fueron 2,000 y por el grading fueron 4,000. Quería saber cuánto va a ser el interés en el préstamo, pero él no sabe porque no es el de finanzas.
Good afternoon. Again, I would like to thank Bishop Rojas for joining us, and also you, David. There's been a couple questions that have been asked so far, and your answer is, I can't answer that. Only the chief financial officer can answer that. It would have been nice if he would have been present to answer some of those questions. You mentioned also that one of the best ways to raise the funds is through the parishioners. And you guys will have to understand the frustration and discouragement on our part when we've been, giving to the fund for so many years and frequently get told, we expect that it'll get started in a few months or this year, and it keeps getting pushed back and pushed back. And I'm sorry, but me personally, I've become so discouraged where I've stopped giving to the fund until I see some actual construction begin, because my fear is that at one point they're just going to give up altogether and never approve it, and then what happens with all the money that we've saved thus far?
Yeah. Well, I think you've been heard loud and clear because we're going to start the project. So I think that's a key to your thing. And again, I understand exactly what you're saying. It's frustrating to raise all the money and not see anything happen. But I promise we're close to starting.
Él pregunta, dice él que él es uno de los fieles que ha estado dando y que se ha completamente desanimado y paró de dar y piensa no dar hasta que él no vea que hay movimiento, porque ¿qué tal si todo este proyecto se cae, todo se queda ahí y qué va a pasar con todo el dinero? Y el señor David le contesta que bueno, usted ha hablado fuerte y se ha sido escuchado porque el proyecto se va a iniciar.
One thing I also want to clarify, I'm not trying to throw my boss, the chief financial officer, under the bus by any means. I don't think he can answer those questions at this time either. And one is the interest rate, what it'll be, because it's a varied rate depending on the market. And the other is how much money you guys can actually loan, because again, it's going to be determined by what you can service on your debt. And that means that you can pay the debt without affecting your ministries in the parish.
Quiero aclararles un poco, no estoy tirando a mi jefe de finanzas. Él no pudo estar aquí hoy, se los aclaro yo. Y las preguntas que hicieron acerca de él, que les dije que no pude contestar, puesto que el Señor le dijo que van cosas que él dice que no puede contestar, pues creo que él tampoco las podría contestar. Y una es el interés que van a pagar en el préstamo. Y el otro es cuánto se les puede prestar. Lo que sucede es que para el préstamo depende de cuánto dinero nosotros hacemos aquí al mes y cuánto realmente vamos a poder pagar.
Hello there, David. I'm Fred Ibarra, and again, Bishop, thank you very much for coming. David, thank you for coming. I just want to do a comment and sort of like a question, but a comment. I remember starting back, I forgot how many years it was when we were first starting the plans out. There was different, 8, 9 years ago. And we'll say, okay, we were probably project number 30. If we're project number 30, and that's why people get discouraged, is because it seems like we stood at number 30. New projects came up, and St. Mary's is still 30, 30, 30. Now we're here in 2022. That's our concern. We don't want to be, we shouldn't be at number 30 anymore. We should be at the top 5 or even closer, and we want to remain there. People will give. The money issue, I believe, the faith that I have, that the money is not going to be a problem. It'll come one way or another, like you said, a miracle. But if we get pushed down again, and then there's, more issues with I understand the city, we've talked, I'm kind of like in the same business as you, and I understand the city, how the city works and everything, and even during COVID. But that set aside, we just want to make sure that our project is not put underneath the table again or at the bottom of the list. Bishop Barnes came here one time and we had a town hall meeting, and this always stuck in my head. His thing, what he told us, he goes, it's not the diocese, it's not Father, it's not anybody else, it's the people that make things happen. So just to let you know, right now, the people of St. Mary's, the parishioners, the community here, like the old saying goes, the squeaky wheel gets oiled. We're going to be squeaking a lot now. And we're doing prayers and everything else, so don't mean to put the pressure on you, but it's been a long time coming. You know what I'm saying? No pressure. So I don't know if you can translate all.
Bueno, Fred lo que dice es que él quería hacer un comentario más que otra cosa, que hace como entre 8 o 9 años que iniciamos, él siente como que, ok, nuestro proyecto estaba abajo, digamos, en el número 30, pero como que si hasta el día de hoy siguiese en el número 30 y llegan nuevos proyectos, entonces que bueno, no lo quiere presionar, pero quiere que todos queremos ver que algo suceda, que sabemos, como él mismo dice, que el milagro va a suceder, que el dinero, tenemos mucha fe, que el dinero lo vamos a empezar a dar, pero ¿qué es lo que queremos? ¿No? Que por favor, como dijo, dice él que se recuerda mucho cuando vino el obispo Rojas, el obispo Barr, y dijo que la gente es la que hace que las cosas sucedan. Entonces, bueno, estamos aquí y queremos seguir.
Yeah, well, thank you, Fred, for the answer, question. Real quick, just so that you know, yours has been the priority since day one. There is no hierarchy of what project gets what. Every project is very, very important. It's not because we have not done our job as far as the diligence of submitting plans or responding to corrections or having meetings. I wish I could take all of you with me just one day and drive around with me and all the phone calls and the emails that I go through different cities, every city, and we're constantly responding to whatever the questions are, because I know you're concerned. I don't want to stand up here and say, oh, we didn't do the job or we didn't do that. That's just not, the reality is that we are very diligent about trying to get the projects forward. As soon as we can, we respond or we submit things. My staff is very good about doing that. Mike Vargas, our project manager in my office, that's all he does all day long is respond to bonds and to building permits and to state quality water board, the fire department, the engineering, public works. All of these things require communication back and forth. And we're constantly doing that. But not only on your project, on all the projects we are. But we feel that we don't neglect the projects. We try and get those done as best we can. And there is never any time where one project takes priority over another. It's just, what do we have to get back in so that we're not delayed, because it does take a lot of time. The other thing is that you have to remember, and again, I want to emphasize this, and that's why I kind of went through the time frame. We just received the conditional use permit in April of 2020, and COVID hit. So my staff, we went down to 3 people in the office. We went down to 3 days a week, but we continued to work even on our days off. We continued to process all of this stuff. So we have been very diligent, and we've really tried, because we understand the importance of moving the projects forward.
Dice él que quiere que sepamos que ellos no tienen prioridades, no tienen jerarquías para los proyectos. Todos somos iguales y en todos trabajan. Que su equipo es muy diligente trabajando, contestando, yendo y viniendo con todas las preguntas en todos los departamentos que tienen que hacerlo. Que eso, por favor, lo tengan en cuenta, que así es, que no tienen esa jerarquía ellos para tratar a los proyectos de esa forma, y que nosotros que tengamos en cuenta que el permiso de, se me olvida el nombre, perdón, el permiso de uso de condición nos lo dieron apenas en abril del 2020, y fue cuando llegó el COVID, y su oficina se redujo a 3 personas, 3 días a la semana, pero aún así siguieron trabajando. Así que bueno, es lo que él decía. Arturo tiene...
Pues nuevamente muchas gracias. Yo sé que todos tenemos la inquietud de hacer preguntas, y los que estamos trabajando para la gloria del Señor. Gracias, señor obispo. Gracias por dar las respuestas. En mi caso, tengo que dar un poquito de testimonio. Estamos muchas personas involucradas en esto de sacar fondos. No es fácil sacar fondos. No es fácil estar allá afuera trabajando, recabando fondos. Infinidad de cosas, la fiesta, la rifa, cualquier otro evento donde también escuchamos otra vez, pero tengo que decir yo la verdad porque soy testimonio. Muchas personas no están involucradas, y no es justo que tengamos que estar dando esa pregunta. En mi caso, creo que debemos de estar involucrados para la gloria del Señor. Si Dios nos da licencia de ver realidad los cimientos, qué bonito. Pero sin embargo, ahí están las huellas que estamos dejando. Algunas personas ya no están aquí. No voy a mencionar nombres, pero dejaron huella. Que eso nos involucre, que nos emocione a que podemos sacar otro fondo más. Podemos oír muchas ideas, e ideas tenemos todos, pero tenemos que ir con la idea hacia adelante. Y entre nosotros, tengo que decir la verdad, también tenemos un poquito de dedo entre nosotros, y no es para eso, sino que debemos de estar, como nos dice la iglesia, unity we can do it, unidos podemos. Y es que tenemos que estar unidos. Eso es lo único que tengo que decir. Gracias.
Well, he was just encouraging us, and he's saying that we need to be united, that we need to start getting involved in, fundraisings and all this, and, that we can just, even if God let us see it, he let us see it. If he don't, we just leave our steps there, like some that are not with us anymore. And that we cannot be just like you or this, judging. You just need to be united, as the church tell us.
Yeah, it's 3:30, and I think we've been at an hour. It's pretty much, it's enough. But I would just like to say a couple things. I contacted Sacred Heart in Rancho, and I asked them how many families at Sacred Heart live in 92337. This is 92337. How many families in Rancho live here, do you think? 558. That's all this Southridge. 558 families that live here go to there. Why? I don't know, but maybe, I don't know. That's one thing. We need to get those people here. They live here. They should go here. And these are probably people that can pay. So we need them, that's one thing. The other thing is I would like to encourage you is to buy a lotto ticket. And I'm kind of serious. You know, we had a $1 million contribution to get us started from the Landeros family. They gave $1 million, $100,000 a year for 10 years, and they paid. And they, I don't know how much they won, but they gave us $1 million, which is a big deal. So I would encourage you, buy a lotto ticket. Pray, we talk about miracles. Well, maybe, maybe God will be on our side. But we need to do something. And then the building committee needs to get together soon and see how we can get going, because once we get started, I don't want to quit either. I don't want to quit. I don't want to stop either, but we have to if we don't have enough. I've noticed that if you look in the bulletin, and every week in the bulletin, we always have the collection, the regular collection, and the building every week. And our regular collection has gone up by about $1,000 a week. But the building has gone down by about $1,000 a week, so I think people just transferred it. But we're making enough in a regular collection to pay our bills with a little bit extra. So we need to get a campaign going with the building committee, which is the parish pastoral council and about 7 or 8 other members, to get going on what are we going to do. Because I don't, like, as I just said twice, I don't want to stop. When we go, I want to go. I don't want to keep playing around. I don't want to play around either. So we need to go. But we need to get a committee, and we need to plan to go, because as David says, the money comes from here. If the lottery doesn't work, ojalá it will work. If it doesn't, we need compromisos, and we need people to pay their compromisos. And maybe we could just have a finite time. On the last time when we started those bricks on the church, it was just, just keep going until we build, which seemed reasonable at that time. But now, it just keeps going and going and going, and that doesn't seem so good either. So anyway, that's about all. Is it okay if we stop now? ¿Está bien si paramos? Es suficiente, pienso. Si no me entendió, estoy diciendo que tenemos que comprar boletos de loto. Y otra cosa es, hay 588 familias que viven en 92337, que es este zip code aquí, que van a Sagrado Corazón. You have to talk to those people in Sagrado, they're taking our people. So, no pressure, no. But those are people, this 92337 son personas que tienen algo de dinero, yo pienso, más que algunos otros. Y deben venir aquí. Y tenemos que traerlos aquí. Si conocen a alguien que va a Sagrado Corazón, que vive aquí en Southridge, pregúnteles por qué. ¿Por qué van allá? Esta es tu parroquia aquí. Te necesitamos y tu dinero. But anyway, so that's all I can say. I don't know. ¿Está bien?
Always last word.
Only thank you. Only thank you.
No, all I wanted to say is, Bishop, thank you so much. You being here really is like a ray of sunshine. We cracked something. There's light coming through. And with you being here, that's the light coming through, showing there's hope. Everybody has hope now, just by your presence being here. And we thank you. So we have hope that this will happen. Okay, thank you.
Did you bring your checkbook? Ok, vamos a terminar. Que Dios os bendiga a todos. Gracias por venir. Si hay más preguntas, escríbelos. Ok, escribe, mande a mí. Ok, muchas gracias. Thank you very much. If you have any more questions, let me know. That's enough for today, I think. Muchísimas gracias. Thanks, David. God bless you.